Welcome to the People of AI podcast, showcasing inspiring people with interesting stories in the field of artificial intelligence. I'm Ashley Oldacre. Let's jump right in. This podcast is sponsored by Google. Any remarks made by the speakers are their own and are not endorsed by Google. Hi everybody, Ashley here. Today's episode is a conversation from DevFest Silicon Valley, one of North America's largest developer conferences, and we're speaking with 4 amazing panelists, and the theme of the conference is responsible AI. So let's jump right in.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. My name is Ashley Oldacre. I am the host of the People of AI podcast and also program manager on the developer relations team at Google. I am thrilled to be talking and interviewing these 4 amazing panelists today. So we'll jump in and get started. And I'd love for all of you to tell us a little bit about yourselves in a couple of sentences and tell us how you got into the field of AI. And we'll start with you, Vikram.
Awesome. Hi, everybody. My name is Vikram. I am a machine learning lead at Assembled. I started with machine learning early in my career as soon as I finished my college. But since then, it's been a journey from learning small models, which are tabular-based models, and then from there to image, and now large language models. That's my journey, kind of. Go ahead.
Thanks, Vikram. For me, I'd say AI happened accidentally when I was working on an open source project with the Google Summer of Open Source. And I came across something called NLP. And I'll say curiosity killed the cat, because that is exactly what led me to find out what exactly is NLP, came to know about things like ML, started diving deep with, that actually pushed me to go for grad school, and then I ended up working at popular social media apps, and now I'm leading the generative AI efforts at a startup to build data conversational tools for small and medium businesses.
Hi, my name is Dan Goncharov. I work at Stanford. I train foundational models on biomolecular data, and I started back from school. My background is computer science and applied math.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Deepa. I am a web developer, Google developer expert in web technologies, and I also have about 15 years of experience in software engineering test. How I got into AI is by doing a passion project for an educational-based tech platform, trying to build for teachers. So that's how I got into AI. Yeah.
Great. So the theme of this season for People of AI is what does it mean to be a person of AI? And historically, a person of AI was reserved to researchers who were building the technology. And then as it came into the hands of developers started expanding it and building on top of it. And now it's in the hands of consumers, whether they know it or not. And AI is everywhere, being used by almost everyone. So the definition of what it means to be a person of AI has most definitely changed. And especially because this is a conference around responsible AI, being a responsible person of AI also carries a lot more meaning and a lot more weight. And so I'd like to ask our panelists to talk about what they think it means to be a person of AI, and specifically what it means to be a responsible person of AI. And Jigyasa, we'll start with you.
Sure, thank you. So I feel like being a person of AI means embracing the technical rigor that you have with as much enthusiasm for social responsibility as well, considering you are at the forefront of technology and building these powerful and accessible tools, which have great potential. So let's be real, AI is here to stay. It's not going anywhere. As much as we are fascinated by it or loathe it, so we should be thinking about the broader implications of AI very, very thoughtfully. So for me, that means to be a person of AI.
Me? Okay. So being responsible person of AI. AI is technology, very powerful technology. And any technology is being amplifier for good or evil. So I would like to stick to the original Google model. Don't be evil, and that's it. That's being the responsible person of AI.
And I would also add on to it, being transparent and also building it for vulnerable people also as well. So inclusivity is something that that has to be taken into consideration, and of course accessibility too, because we need to build something for all, right? So that's something that I would also add on to responsible AI, building any application with AI responsibly?
All right, I'll go long. So when I think about responsible AI, I think of it in two ways. One is don't leave anybody behind. So that means that anything that you learn, try to share it with other people. There's tips and tricks that are happening. The AI is not anymore mathematical only in the researcher's hand, as Ashley was talking about. It's in everybody's hand now. So you can try out different things. So when you try out things and you find some interesting factoids or interesting techniques, try to share it with other people, bring them along, try to get them on with you and educate them, because now it's like we have done this multiple times over the course of technology journey, where when mobile came out, older generation felt left behind. When computers came out, the older generation felt left behind. We don't have to do that again. This time the technology is actually available to everybody. It's conversational. We can bring everybody along with us. So when you find something, try to get other people along with you in that. On the flip side, if you are a researcher, if you are somebody who works in this technology, in the core of technology and building these models, bring your voices into the conversation, because we have seen this again in the past where technology is built by a very specific group of people, and if we don't have the representation from other groups in there, it ends up being left behind, or those groups end up being marginalized. So make sure that your voices are heard, and there's so many channels for that. If you feel like you are not being heard in your company or the project that you're working on, try to get those voices outside, build some social momentum around it, and there's platforms available for that. So yeah, that's what I would say. For a person to be working in the field of AI, you can no longer hide behind the fact of it's a big corporation and there's a math behind it. Be in the forefront, bring others along, and take the journey forward.
Did anybody else want to add to
I have a couple of things to add. Of course, data privacy, right? That's something that we need to take into consideration. And also, how are you going to use the user's content in there? Or how are you going to protect them, right? Those are some of the things that I would also add on to when you're building something with AI. So make sure that there should be a data lineage around this.
Absolutely. So we've talked a little bit about thinking inclusively about the users, who is using it, and making sure that we're incorporating all kinds of users into the products. And there's data privacy. That is another big topic in being responsible. What are some other topics that come to mind when we're thinking about AI being a responsible person of AI?
I feel like as a person of AI, you should be very well aware of the fact that even a small change that you do can have like a large impact on a regular person out there. So I think I felt this kind of like power in my hands when I was working at a social media company, and I could see that even like a small change that might seem insignificant or like was just of a little significance in technical terms, but from like an outside world perspective, like it could entirely change the kind of like recommendations people started seeing on their feed and the kind of content they were engaging with, which can leave like a lasting impact or like a big impression on your mind. So be very well aware of the fact that any small change can lead to a large impact on people.
Can I add to it? One of the things that I like to say to people is don't rely on benchmarks. So if you see any new model comes out, they talk about the benchmarks and different things that the model is performing well on. Generally, what I tell people is do your own in-house benchmarks, which are holdout set, which are not available to the internet, mostly because as much as you can rely on certain aspects of those benchmarks to qualify for your things that you care about, there's still things that you generally care more about than the model creators care about. So always evaluate the models for your own use cases, build your own evaluation systems so that you don't just blindly take something from the internet and just start putting into your product.
Yeah. I would like to add responsible person of AI. It's, for me, educator, because right now there is still small quantity of people who use it every day heavily, but anybody can use it because it's just natural language, plus other modalities. So if you find some interesting use cases, make sure to share them. Make sure to introduce it to people, especially to older generation, especially to your parents, how to use this Gemini, how to, take the picture and, translate it, or how to, get the new recipe, get new places to see, and so forth. Right now, this is the issue, the adaptation curve. I don't know why, but it's there. Just everybody can do it. Everybody can propagate the use.
I think I'd like to add a small point here would be while sharing with the older generation, I think it's also very important to ingrain in their mind that take everything with a pinch of salt. Like don't take it for word, because even though it might sound very convincing, that's what hallucinations are, but to take everything with a pinch of salt.
So to that, there is a couple solutions that I introduce immediately. One is grounding solution. Ask for the references where this statement came from. That's one. Second is self-consistency. You don't have to use just one model. You can use multiple models, and you can ask same questions from multiple models. If 3 different vendors give you same answer, probably it's true.
I would just want to add on something. I used to be at Adobe before. So what comes to my mind is how you're generating your images, and also who owns this, right? Also, that could be very useful too in terms of copyrights and other stuff. So that's where I see the value of AI in there.
Absolutely. So when we think about responsible AI, there's sort of these different steps and different stages, from collecting data, training the model, deploying it, putting it in front of users and testing it. At what point should you be thinking about AI responsibly? Is it sort of a mindset that you apply throughout the whole process, or is this something that you start off, when you're training your data, or is this a reiterative process throughout?
Can I go?
Yeah, sure.
So one of the things that I like to point to people when this happens is look at the Gemini paper when it got released. They did a really good job in there on talking about different aspects of where different teams came in and tried to poison the data, or it's trying to poison the prompts, it's trying to poison the actual outputs, or by passing in or doing red team testing where they're trying to pass in different kinds of inputs to extract the prompt or extract the model information. So that's like a fairly comprehensive guide and like fairly up to date. Again, the things are changing every day. There's new techniques being evolved on both sides of like preserving and safeguarding the models, but also the red team side of it, which is how do you exploit the models. In the end, all I'm trying to go for is we have to do the whole thing end to end. And oftentimes you will find that, hey, you missed or you overcorrected on certain aspects at different times. You might have to go back and revisit the whole pipeline. It's never a done and forget process. It's always evolving, and you always have to keep running it back and back again. So that's my thought, but yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
It's a mindset. It's an iterative approach. It's before in the requirement elicitation phase. It's basically everywhere. So yeah, that's my answer for this.
My point was if you already are in an ecosystem where you're building something already, just start off try to use the models that are already there, right? Just start experimenting it, and then introduce it into your development process, and then see how it goes with the development cycle. And then you can talk about iteration. So first, it needs to work out what is there in your ecosystem already, right, in your tech stack.
Yeah. Dan?
I agree. All true. At all stages.
Nothing more to add. Great. So from what I'm getting from this is that it's a mindset from the beginning, and then depending on where you are in the process, there's always a great place to start, whether it's looking at the data, looking at the model itself, looking about getting feedback from the users, and then incorporating it and implementing it. So I'd like to shift gears a little bit and ask about a particular moment when you became a person of AI. Well, actually, let me start off by saying, do you consider yourself to be a person of AI today?
Can I go? Because I am from the web world, so we just got Chrome's new, if somebody has attended the Web AI Summit a couple of weeks ago, they're introducing new APIs, and yes, I'm trying to explore, and there is also a hackathon. I'm not saying that I'm an expert in the AI part of it, but definitely trying to incorporate it, in whatever I'm trying to build.
Okay. Dan?
I guess I started a long time ago. Back then it was machine learning, not AI.
Right.
Now we call it AI. But as Deepa mentioned before, that now everybody is a person of AI. Anybody can go to the model and ask questions. And yes, you are using AI in your work, in your life, and wherever.
Yeah, I agree. Like, if you're using it, AI is affecting all of us. So you're using it, you're building it. you are a person of AI, and I think I did share like a pivotal moment when I actually, realized the power that I had in my hands. It could impact millions of people about, building recommendation systems, feed ranking systems on social media can definitely be something that, showcases the power of machine learning, back in those days when we used to build recommender systems. So yeah, I feel being a person of AI.
So for me, it's actually embarrassing story because I feel like I'm not a great writing of code. I don't write very well code. So for me, it started like 10 years ago when I was trying to write a recommender system, but by hand. So rather than trying to use a model, I was trying to determine, based upon these user inputs, what kind of ad should I be showing them. I worked at an ad company a long time back. So as I was writing that, I was like, why do I have to keep writing these if-else cases? Why can't I use something that would write these if-else cases for me? And that's where I started to get deeper into like just simple those branching models that we had for decision trees and everything else. From there, decision trees worked well, and then I went to next, and then I was like, okay, why can't I generate the image that ads are being seen while we have to do all the copy editing and everything else? So went from there to the image-based models, and from there to the natural language, and now I'm here. Doing all these LLMs and AI stuff in there. So for me, it's always been about solving the problem and solving the problems that I care about. And that's how I tell other people to think about it, rather than trying to think of it as like a math term and having to go through the whole rigorous of like, you need to know everything behind that is happening in this model. It's good, you should, but you don't have to. If you're trying to build, start with solving a problem. And once you try to solve a problem, try to find and identify the best tools for that. And yeah, on the way, you will learn a lot more things, a lot more techniques. You will find your community. You will feel more closer to the actual things that you're using. You will build new things. You'll contribute. But like, go with a goal in mind rather than just trying to learn. Because when you try to learn, there's no end of learning. If you try to build something, there's always better things you can build, and in that process, you will learn.
So I've been in the field for maybe 7, 8 years now, and I do not consider myself a person of AI just yet. And I think I'm still stuck in this mentality of actually being able to build with it. And I'm still on the sort of the user side of things. And so has your journey into becoming a person of AI, was there like, so you shared a little bit with that, but was there a moment where you were like, yes, I get it, this is what I want to do, this is where I'm going, or was it sort of an incremental stage of sort of first discovering or being in the field of machine learning a little bit and then figuring out, oh, this is how you train a model. So was your journey very linear, or was it sort of a sudden big shift that happened, or was it sort of a bit of a zigzag all over the place?
Can I add?
Yes, please.
For me, it's a zigzag. So
Yeah.
until last year, I was like, okay, I didn't understand. I'll be very honest with you. But then trying to understand these models and trying to see what is supervised data and unsupervised data, it was kind of hard for somebody who builds user experiences. But now, I don't know if there's a new API is coming up with Chrome, which is using Gemini model. I think it's going to make a lot more sense and to understand well. And now I see that it's very easy. It's not that hard, but once you understand, these models, it does something, and you can see it in front of you as how it's been used. For me, I'm a very UI person, so that helps me to see where these models are going to.
And so that was sort of the start.
Yes.
For you.
There is no definitive moment for me. I wanted to do it all. I wanted this dream to become true from very young age, right? From sci-fi. I did believe in it. I still believe in it. For me, question of AGI, it's only timeline. Is it next year? Is it in 2 years? Is it in 5 years? And so forth. There wasn't a very distinctive moment for me then become true or not. Just technology become easy and easy. In my young years, we had to write code for matrix multiplication by hand. And TensorFlow appeared, right? And it was just, 5 lines of code. And now you don't even have to write anything. You just do everything in context. You just write good prompt. And here we go. There is your own personal AI model. You don't have to train. You don't have to write code. It's there for you. Every day things getting easier, and hopefully it's going exponentially.
I'll say definitely one thing that helped me reach that pivotal point in my life where I realized that I want to do this thing called machine learning and NLP was exposing myself to different opportunities, be it like global via, internet or be in person, meetups, etc. So when you expose yourself, you increase that surface area. You definitely, the right things would come to you. So that has been the mantra for my life. And I feel like that is exactly how I came across this thing called NLP, which made me more curious to read more about it. Then later on, I ended up doing grad school, which I think was a pivotal point because I know exactly the math behind it. I know how to train models, be it like different kinds of models, even a language model, etc. So it's very, I would say, if you really want to get deep into it, it's nice to understand the math so you know what thing to tune and what thing is effective what. But yeah, of course, it depends on your interest, what you want to build with it. But definitely give it a try if you can.
So for you, it was like trying and playing with it, yeah. And for Dan, it was a lifelong childhood dream that has come true.
Dan works on robots, so one day I want to see him in an Iron Man suit. So.
Next DevFest.
Next DevFest.
Right now it's biotech. Thank you.
Nice. For me, I think, I don't know if there's a pivotal point, but it's always been, for me, I'm trying to solve hard problems. And eventually, like, the problems kept getting harder and harder and harder, and I couldn't solve them with just writing code. And that's where, rather than writing the whole code by myself, I started using machine learning models, not to write code, but like solve the actual problem that you're able to solve. And I feel like that's just been my journey where every time I try to solve a problem, now I'm reaching out more towards actual models rather than writing my own code. So when that switch happened, then I realized, okay, now I'm not a software engineer anymore. Not just a software engineer. I'm trying to do more software and machine learning, and that's when people of AI becomes. But the other side of this is I still have another problem, which is people problem. Like I have to figure out how to. The two big problems is how do you write good code and how do you manage people well. So still trying to figure that second part out. I don't think AI can help me with that, but we'll see. It's writing emails for me, so we'll see.
So all of you have touched on a little bit this concept of things becoming easier. Things were really hard earlier on, and the tools are becoming easier to use. It's easier to adopt things quickly. The barrier of entry has also gone down. But I think with that ease, there's also been a sort of fire hose of information, a fire hose of tools out there. And I think the issue of trust becomes a pretty big question that a lot of users especially are asking, and especially when we're talking about responsible AI, there's this concept of what is responsible, what is safe, what can we trust. So what are your views or even some advice for anyone who's sort of starting or who's exposed to millions of tools out there that are using AI, and what can you trust and what can you use and who can you rely on in this space? Yeah.
Okay. First off, I would say that whatever you're building and whatever your use case is going to be, figure that out, and based on that, select a tool. There's a ton of tools out there, but then it all comes down to what are you building, right? And then based on that, you could go for, there are so many information, so many models out there, again, for your specific, if you're trying to build something related to data, see what are the companies that use it. And then if they're using a specific model or a tool, then see how it works for you. For me, I started playing with TensorFlow JS, and then I extensively use Google's documentation, code labs and whatnot, right? So of course, that would be one of the resources that I go for. And because I couldn't understand at the beginning of the whole journey, I used extensively O'Reilly's platform, because they have a lot of people who come and do talks there, and then you can also read books. So maybe I'm old school, but I start with those. So it helps me understand. So ultimately, what are you building? How thoughtful are you going to build? And how responsibly you're going to build? It's all yours, right?
Okay, I guess for me it depends on the use case. If it's some personal use case, I want the recipe of ice cream, just couple sample points for me from different vendors is enough. I just tried it, I like it, I don't like it, I keep using it. If it's work related, then I would like to have better validation strategy. Use cases can be different, but I would like to think about validation strategy before I start developing. Validation strategy plus benchmarks. Again, there is so many tools available. I would like to see that somebody else already put their time into testing. It's not going to be me testing. So I would, use benchmarks first and validation strategy.
I kind of agree. I also feel like it should be very use case specific, and you should also be thinking about do you really need AI, or you're just doing it for the sake of it? Are you using a sword to cut a tomato if you can do it by a knife? Because I think in today's world, everyone's just trying to be AI powered, AI first, whereas there's so many things that can be made simple. Keep it simple should be something that you should all follow. And with that, think whenever we are building something new, things are always exciting. You're always looking at, it could help this, it could help this segment of people, but also think about the negatives of it, the downsides of it, which usually is an afterthought. So while you're, very excited about, the impact it can have, also think about the negatives of it, the implications of it, and keep yourself in the shoes of the user and think, would you really use that product on a daily? Would you be willing to give your data out there in the open? So think from that perspective. User-centric approach and ethics-first approach is something that I'd recommend.
But I want to be Fruit Ninja. Okay. Jokes aside.
We can build human robots very soon, though.
Is Daniel
For
with
that,
us?
yeah.
Daniel works on that.
We have
Nice.
Danny.
Jokes aside, what I try to do is I try to think of it as most of the problems are either solved already, but in different ways. So one of the things that we have in San Francisco Bay Area is no ideas are new ideas. Every idea is a rehashed version of the older idea. So generally, whatever your problem you're trying to solve, start with the problem. Don't start with the solution. The same thing that Jigyasa was mentioning. Don't start with a sword. Start with what you're trying to solve, and then identify the best tool for that. It might or might not be AI. It might be one model versus another model. And oftentimes what ends up happening is the existing wisdom that's out there is you use X to solve Y. It might not be true anymore because that was the known wisdom 5 months ago, 5 years ago. Doesn't matter what the timeline is, but if you have access to newer tools, newer technologies, you might want to look into that and see if it can solve the problem. But focus on the problem. Don't look at the solution to say I have a sword now. I want to cut different things. So don't go with that. Go with the problem first.
I love it, going with the problem. But when you do look at the tools, it's one thing to choose, okay, I'm going to choose a cutting knife, I'm going to choose a sword, I'm going to choose a Swiss Army knife, but how do you make the decision to choose and to trust those tools depending on the use case that you have?
Start simple. Because when you start simple, as we all know, people coming from typical ML backgrounds, they know the simplest models are the most interpretable models. You look at logistic regression, you can see the weights, you can see how, what feature is impacting, which feature is important, what is causing this prediction to actually occur. So when you start simple, you get to know the nitty-gritties of it, and then, evolve as per the need. If you are able to, from experience, I can tell most of the sophisticated recommender systems or ad systems started with logistic regression. Until this date, they use logistic regression, even though the research has moved on to generative AI, deep learning methods, just because it's not only easier to implement, easier to interpret, but they are also fast. Latency matters in today's world. So start simple and then iteratively evolve as per the need.
Sure. Okay, yes, good advice. Baseline. You need to build a baseline. Baseline usually simplest approach, most naive approach. Sometimes it's random selection, hopefully not. And then you build up, usually engineering effort increasing. Then you're building more and more, better solution, but also it's, you hitting certain asymptotic. It doesn't you put so much more effort and your return is very small. That's one approach. Actually, there is opposite approach. And then you just use your existing Gemini tool and you ask it to solve for you as is. Again, in context learning, again, prompt engineering. Because maybe your use case is not that big, maybe your problem is not that big, and it doesn't worth all this engineering effort. That's on a business side question, or a people question. And if it's true, then you will build up the data, and then you will build special models for that.
But would it be interpretable?
Excellent question. So for that, prompt engineering, you ask how did you get to this conclusion?
But yeah, I think the only concern I have is when two people ask similar looking questions, you might not get the exact same response. So I think the world is moving towards, we are having a lot of research toward having that kind of explainability and interpretability, which are the pillars for responsible AI.
So I would like to pitch for LAT tool. That was team still exists. It's a pair team at Google. There is certain methods to look inside of the black box. Integrated gradients, sharpen methods, and so forth. Contextual learning, I believe.
Yeah, there are definitely tools out there, but we need them open in public for the regular.
It's open source tool.
No, for regular people to access, other than tech first. Yeah.
Deepa and Vikram, did you want to add to the conversation?
Go ahead.
I think I'm good.
Are you good? Okay. All right, I'll add it. So I think there's two approaches to this that different companies follow. One is this dark forest approach, where you don't trust anybody. You trust nobody, you do your own work, you don't rely on anybody, and just go in all enclosed system. These are generally hedge funds. If people have seen the Bloomberg AI thing come up, they take the stuff from outer world, but don't share generally whatever they're building. That approach does work, but for a very small subset of users, or small subset of problems. For majority of other problems, there's open research. There's research papers out there. There's public tools. There's open source. And generally, what you will find is there's a big community around that as well, where once you start looking deeper into a problem, you will find people who have already used a tool or are familiar with why or when things break in when you're using a certain tool. So what I generally suggest is going with the more open approach, where you can look into, okay, if I'm trying to use this tool, what are the different points where it breaks, where it does not work? Does it work well for my use case? And yeah, you can easily find that answer out. And trust is something that you can't build in day one. It often breaks as well when companies make mistake, people make mistake, there's things happen. So yeah, there's no one right answer, but generally being in the open world helps much more than being in the closed world.
Last chance.
I would just add on to it because I just wanted to say that if there is already an existing model that's there in the market, that's how we use it at Adobe. So use the existing model, try to create a recommendation based out of it, and then fine-tune it, right? Basically, that's how we wrote prompts and making sure that, hey, this is what we want, this is what we don't want, this is looking good in terms of art, images and stuff like that. So it's how you use it and how you train it, and based on how you give the prompts. That's how you train and build it, too.
Right, right. So thank you for your answers. I want to shift a little bit. You, Vikram, took us into this direction of talking about community. We're in the presence of an incredible community, and thank you all who have joined in person today and those who are watching on the recording and the live stream. You are big superstars in your own communities trying to share information out. And so I would love to ask you, how are you leveraging the power of the community? How important is it in your own personal journey towards learning, growing, developing?
Can I go for this?
Yes.
Okay,
please.
Who is WTM here? Any women tech makers? Woo, right? Go. We have She Builds AI. What is that thing called? So we have She Builds AI. Sessions?
Campaign.
And then campaigns, right, thank you. And then I'm also a organizer for San Jose. We do events too. That's how I got connected with these beautiful people and so many others as well. And connect with the local GDGs or any community around you. And there are a lot of free resources that Google throws at you. So you make sure that you use them. So that's how I started learning, and that's how I even got closer to AI. So initially, yes, I was not very sure how to use this. So I attended during the event last year that I organized, how many of you know Sudha Jamte? She did an AI session in my event. So that's how I was like, oh, this is not that hard. So I can also learn it. I went to a couple of her weekly sessions that she has on Wednesdays. So I went to those, and she gave a lot of resources. I started learning from that. So use the resources around you, talk to people like these experts, and get connected, see what they're doing, and make sure that follow them, right? That's how I would go from there. Go to DevFest.
Oh, me first. So, GDG, excellent resource. Me, myself, I run GDG Stanford, a bit of Silicon Valley cloud. We do, at least I'm trying to put it on somewhat regular basis. Also, I like idea of learn by teaching. In order to teach something, at first you need to learn it, right? And there is multiple platforms available for that, especially nowadays. Anybody can have YouTube channel, TikTok channel. So learn by teaching.
What are those platforms? You said there's multiple platforms out there. Name a few, if you can.
YouTube, TikTok, LinkedIn, anybody can be content provider.
Okay, so
nowadays,
just a
right?
general, nothing in specific. Okay.
I do follow a lot of Google's YouTube channels. There's TensorFlow JS, there's cloud, there's startups. The startup one is also really good. I attended a couple of sessions. So that's how you learn. So everybody is joining this train. I would say that jump onto it right now.
I'd say my experience with communities started 10 plus years ago. My level of expertise has changed over the years. My interests have changed over the years. So definitely the kind of communities I've engaged with have also changed. The locations, global, virtual, whatnot. It started off with, Google Code In, then Google Summer of Open Source, then, GDGs, then GDEs, Google Developer Experts, now Google Developer Programs, and now as I'm more into like startups, it's Google Startup Accelerator. So there's so many different communities out there which cater to what you want to do. Are you like a high school student? Are you like a university student? Are you like a startup founder or a startup engineer? It depends. 100%, I agree. Being a part of communities is a two-way street. You learn, you teach, and that is how the whole cycle goes on. And it can definitely be daunting at first, to go to physically go to a meetup, because I still remember the first time I went. It's just like you have to put one foot through the door, and then it's just like a snowball effect. So keep learning, expose yourself to multiple opportunities out there, and the right thing will strike at the right time.
Can I add on to it? Because, what Jigyasa said was, I would add on to some more. Even if you don't know, but you learn by teaching, like Dan said. I learned it by doing many talks as I could. I did TensorFlow JS recently. Then that's how I was like, I'm also learning when I do go teach or talk. I understand it much better when the questions come in. You would go back to it and fix your slides or get answers for that. That's another source. And what are the new things coming up? Learning through it. I have no shame if I say something wrong. I say, yeah, I'm still exploring. I'm doing a Angular and Gemini talk next in 2 weeks. So yeah, go for it. And then, even if you're wrong, that's fine. It's just that how you put yourself, and you could go wrong, but at the same time you learn a lot.
It's all in the journey.
Yeah, true.
You see a theme here. Everybody's a teacher. So mine also started the same way, but we are in a new age now. So what I would suggest is when you're trying to okay, this is just me. I start with a problem. So I start with a problem and trying to solve that problem. And once I solve the problem, then I try to talk about it because I've solved it. So I want to show other people that how do you solve this problem? That ends up becoming a talk. I started doing this when I was in school. And over time, just the complexity of the problems have increased, and the kind of topics that I'm delving into has increased as well. But for today, as you are trying to learn something, there's this website called Google, if people have heard of it. You type in there whatever you want to learn, and it gives you
that platform.
Yeah, seriously. It's great. But like seriously, today you can go to, if you are a visual learner, you can go to one of these platforms. Gemini is great. Ask it to describe things, but in a more visual format. It will generate images for you. If you are somebody who is like very much an audio listener, go to Notebook LM. Put in the content that you want to learn more about. It will generate a podcast for you. So the ways of learning are changing. You don't still suggest go to school, more structured way, get a degree, it still helps. But the way you are learning doesn't have to stop at school or doesn't even have to start at school. You can do that whenever you want on whatever topic you want. There's so many courses right now out there that is like, half the time I'm on YouTube, I'm just looking through random courses that are available from Stanford, MIT. It's just like, yeah, I want to learn more about music theory. I see 2 episodes, I'm bored, I close it out. Doesn't matter. You get to learn something new in there. If nothing else, I just get to see how other people are presenting about different topics. And this gives me different ways of, even when I'm presenting my own topics to other people, I get to learn from like, okay, this is the way you talk. This is the way you do demos. So there's no stopping of learning opportunities. And specifically about machine learning, there's so much content out there. The one thing that I would say is take everybody's suggestion with a grain of salt. What worked for me does not apply for you. You are a unique person. Something might work for you or does not work for me, or work for me, does not work for you. So yeah, go with your own. Having a community definitely helps. And having a community that you can reach out to regularly helps quite a lot. Because one day you reach out to a person, they might be available. Second day, they might not be, but if you have a community behind you, that helps a lot. So on that, I always recommend people to find a GDG near you. If it's not a GDG, find any other group. Does not matter. If it's a group that meets regularly, you can go there and talk about your problems to not only the experts that are in the room, but also to peers who are in the same state as you are. Helps a lot. Yeah.
And wherever Vic goes, he builds GDG.
Yeah, I've done well 3 of you.
Well, thank you for your answers. We'll close it out with one last question. What does a responsible AI future look like?
Awesome.
I was like, I don't have to take that pinch of salt anymore.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good one.
You still have to be a little mindful, right?
I don't want to solve problems. I just want to chill. So
I just wanted to say one thing. There are kids out here, who goes to school and they use AI. My son goes and he has to watch AP videos, but he doesn't. He just goes, plugs those video links in one of those AI-generated summary website where it gives you notes, it gives you summary, it gives you a mind map, everything. And he doesn't look through the video. I would personally say that watch out for what your kids are doing. And from there, make sure that they are also using responsibly, right?
So a future could be sort of having this technology really enhance learning as opposed to sort of replacing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely a big theme of like anytime I have built tools, they're more about empowering people than just like replacing them, because you can never replace people. There's so much nuance that comes in that is either you don't know or you will discover over time after the fact that you've built some technology. So yeah, definitely like whatever you're building, it will always have a human component into it. Always try to empower users. Don't try to remove them, because yeah, that does not work. Never works.
So yeah, AI is definitely, as Vikram also mentioned, AI is here to enhance the human potential and not replace it. And I am looking forward to it boosting my productivity, becoming a 10x engineer, and basically, yeah, giving me more time to do things that I like. And again, not taking anything with a pinch of salt.
Mm-hmm.
I guess for me there is 2 things, breakthrough things that are happening right now. One, that now I have very personal teacher on any level, right? It's anywhere from high school up to PhD. I can ask about any topic. The horizon of the knowledge is very, very wide. I can ask about quantum physics. I can ask about, single-cell sequencing and so forth. And answers more than likely will be correct. And again, there is methods to make sure that there is no hallucination. Self-consistency, grounding, and so forth. That's one awesome thing. I always have advisor next to me, right, on any topic. Second, it's hyper-personal software, the code generation. I know it's early in development, but it's happening. It's not software that, built by a huge team. It's software built for you right here, right now, for your particular need right now. That's it.
The question is about use cases. Several of you mentioned that problem first, and then solution follows after that. My question is that, I'm connected with a group of people who have use case ideas, but do not know the technology to deliver. So now, since you mentioned it, I wanted to ask you if you are aware of any other such use case communities, and two, if you know of any good platforms that can match with these use case communities to make things happen.
I will talk to you after the session for a real answer, but I'm giving a generic answer right now. The generic answer is play with the tools. The reason you know the way sword behaves is you play with the sword. The reason knife behaves differently than a sword because you play with the knife. So play with those a little bit to figure out what tool to use at what point in time. And that it's something that you might have to play with. Sometimes it's your whole team has to play with to figure out what is the right answer, what is the right tool for it. So generally, that's where you start. Having others' input, having the community helps, but it's never going to be the replacement for you trying the things by yourself. So generic answer, but I'll try to connect you with you afterwards.
Thank you.
Yeah, the best way of learning is by getting your hands dirty. So experimentation is the key, 100%.
And if you cannot do it as by yourself, form a team. Try to do it that way too.
Nice.
I agree.
Yes, thank you for the question. I've learned so much from all four of you. Thank you so much. It's been wonderful hearing your stories, your advice, your insights. Let's give them a round of applause.
Thanks, Ashley, for having us here.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
A pleasure, a pleasure.
Thank
All right,
you.
and that concludes our sessions. Thank you so much for listening and for watching.
If you would like to learn more about our conversation or our guests, check out the links below. Please subscribe, and if you're feeling extra generous, give us a 5-star rating. We would love to hear from you, so leave us a comment. We'll read every one. Until next time, thank you for listening.